It signed long leases and rented out workspaces by the month. That's it. The oldest business in any city, the kind your landlord runs in his sleep. Then it put on a hoodie, called itself tech, and damn near every smart money investor on earth lined up to believe it. Now, everyone wants to tell you this is a fraud story. The Messiah Complex founder, the tequila in the private jet, the guy who said he'd elevate the world's consciousness while he sold you a desk. And yeah, all that's real. We'll get to it. But here's the number nobody leads with. This company never died. Yeah, it blew up and filed for bankruptcy and wiped out billions in debt, but it's still open today and it's actually turning a profit. So if nobody went to prison and the company's still standing, what in their system actually broke? And how does a desk rental shop get worth $47 billion one month and get laughed out of the room 6 weeks later? Stick around. By the end, you'll have one question you can aim at any next big thing, including that one that's sitting in your feed right now. Let's get into it. Before we go anywhere, here's a little something to hold on to. 47 billion. That number shows up twice in this story. Once on the way up, where it makes you a legend, and once on the way down, where it makes your stomach drop. Same number, different sides of the coin. We'll get to that in a minute. Back in 2010, two guys, Adam Neumann and Miguel McKelvey, opened up shop in SoHo with a $15 million check from a real estate guy who took a third of the company. The idea was old as dirt. You sign a long lease on a big building, you spruce it up, kombucha on tap, some good lighting, plants everywhere, all that good stuff. Then you rent it back out in little pieces month to month to freelancers and startups who don't want a 5-year lease. Money comes in long, money goes out long, and you keep the spread. And the timing was perfect. The crash of 2008 had landlords on their knees and a whole generation of laid-off professionals tired of working out of a coffee shop. And it worked. Did it ever? Revenue went from $436 million in 2016 to $1.8 billion 2 years later. Then the big money showed up. Masayoshi Son, the guy running SoftBank's $100 billion vision fund, he sits down with Neumann, and the two of them start talking numbers that don't sound like office space anymore. They sound like Silicon Valley. Son floats an idea of pouring in $20 billion. He blinks, dials it back, and writes a $2 billion check in January 2019. And that's a company valuation of $47 billion. Across the whole run, this company raised $12.8 billion. It had 500,000 members in more than 500 locations. And here's the magic trick, the one that matters. It wasn't valued like it was a landlord. Landlords are boring. Landlords trade at boring numbers. WeWork got valued like a tech company. Recurring members, a network, a mission to elevate the world's consciousness. A side that pegged the market at over $1 trillion. Put a hoodie on a landlord and the whole world does math like it's software. That hoodie was worth tens of billions of dollars, right up until somebody made him take it off. Now you see, when you go public, you've got to file an S1. That's a registration with the SEC, where, for the first time, you open up the books and let everybody read. WeWork filed that on August 14th, 2019, and that filing is exactly where the story walked into the math. And the math was waiting, because there it was in black and white. In 2018, this company lost about $1.9 billion on revenue of $1.8 billion. Again, it was losing almost $2 for every dollar that came in the door. And the filing read less like a financial document and more like a pitch deck with a god complex. Pages on the founder's philosophy, a thing they invented called community-adjusted EBITDA, And the part that made everybody's eyebrows climb was the company paid Neumann himself $5.9 million for the rights to the word we. What? But what's really going on here? Now, the easy read that everybody gives is that this was just a con. One charismatic guy lies, throws tequila parties, flies around in $60 million jets, and he just snowed a bunch of investors. That's it. And look, steel man that, give it its due, because there is truth to it. The spending was real. The governance was a circus. The ego could fill a stadium. But here's the nuance that almost nobody sits with. It mostly wasn't a crime. Nobody went to prison. The $47 billion wasn't some back alley scam. It's a number the most sophisticated investor on the planet signed off on in writing. The real thing that broke wasn't honesty. It was a category error. A landlord in a tech costume. And the costume let everybody value the story, the members, the mission, the map, while the actual engine underneath was the oldest, most brittle business in the city. You own long, fixed, no take-back rent for 15 years, but your customers can walk out at the end of the month. And now, that number you've had in your back pocket, well, here it comes a second time. There was one line buried in that same filing with the SEC. The future lease payments that WeWork was on the hook for was about $47 billion, against roughly $4 billion in committed revenue to cover it. The valuation and the liability were the same damn number. The $47 billion that crowned it was the $47 billion that owned it. The market didn't catch a liar, it just read the lease. And after that, it came apart fast. They filed on August 14th. The founder was pushed out as CEO on September 24th, and the IPO was yanked on September 30th. That's 6 weeks. The valuation fell from $47 billion to around $8 in the rescue. And Neumann, the man at the center of it, walked away with a package reportedly near $1.7 billion. And here's the lesson for you and me. The dangerous one in the room is hardly ever the obvious liar. You can see that guy coming a mile away. The dangerous one is the flattering story, the one so good it lets smart people skip the boring math. Because when a business earns money like one kind of thing and asks to be valued like another kind of thing, well, that gap isn't an accident. That's the story doing the work that the numbers can't. Now, I've stared at a few of these maps myself, and I'll be straight with you. I've been sold on the hoodie before. It happens. The pitch is always prettier than the spreadsheet. But the question that protects you isn't, is this person lying? It's a quieter voice than that. The real thing is, what is this actually? And does the math still hold once I strip the story away from it? If you ask that of WeWork, the answer falls right out. A landlord that owed long and earned short. Ask of it of your own job, of your part-time work, your side hustle, that sure thing your buddy keeps texting you about. And then ask the same question of whatever that is that's wearing the shiniest costume in your feed right this minute. Every boom has one. You already know what I'm talking about. You know the one I mean. Separate the story from the spreadsheet. Follow the money, not the mission statement. Good advice no matter how you slice it. WeWork put on a costume and the world paid $47 billion for it until somebody made it take the costume off. So next time, let's flip that. It's 130 years old and it started out making playing cards. It's been counted dead more times than you can possibly list, and every single time it changes the game instead of losing. That's next time on Biz Boom Bust. If you've got a wearing a costume company you want me to take apart, drop it in the comments. I read them. We'll see you next time.